Now we come to message 33. Time is short. We ask Section A to read to us just these two verses actually. Verse 17b through verse 19a. Turn to the next page, page 24. I think we all better read it. That you, having been rooted and grounded in love, may be strong to apprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the knowledge surpassing love of Christ. By reading these few verses, I believe we will realize that Paul's writing in verse 18 is not so complete. He says, may be strong to apprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth of what? Of what? You see, it is not complete. So some scholars say Paul was too excited. Excited to an extent he didn't do a complete job in his writing. If we were there, we would check with him. Brother Paul, what is the breadth and length and height and depth of what? See? What is the breadth and length and height and depth of what? He missed this phrase of what? And I do believe it should be of Christ. Right? May be strong to apprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth of Christ. Otherwise, what would you guess? The breadth, the length, the height, and the depth of what? Some translations render this way, of the surpassing love of Christ. That way. But that is too far up, because after this, in verse 19, you have and to know. See? And to know. That means and joins these two infinitives. Number one, to apprehend and to know. That you may be strong to apprehend and to know. Right? So, the breadth and length and height and depth should not be of the surpassing love. It should be something else. And what else? That should be Christ. Now, we need to spend some time on these two things to apprehend the dimensions of Christ and to know the love of Christ. The dimensions of Christ are immeasurable. we must spend some time in verse 17. Then we come to verse 18. In these few verses, the Apostle Paul used the word that as a kind of issue a few times. Let me read to you. Verse 16, that, you see, that he would grant you. Verse 17, that Christ may make his home. Then verse 17 again, that you, having been rooted and grounded in love, that you may be strong to do two things, to apprehend and to know. Then 19, verse 19, you go on, that you may be filled unto all the fullness of God. Have you counted how many times? 4 times? Just 4? Yeah? Actually, verse 1, that he would grant you. Verse 17, that Christ may make his home. Verse 17 again, that you may be strong to apprehend and to know, that you may be filled. Yes, 4 times. Unto all the fullness of God. All these that may be added with this word in order that. It is also right, and it might be strengthened. In order that he would grant you. In order that Christ may make his home. In order that you may be strong to apprehend and to know. In order that you may be filled, and so forth. In order. There is some debate among the teachers to interpret these 4 phrases, in order that, in order that, in order that, in order that. We have to look into it. The first, in order that, is the result of the Apostle's prayer, right? The Apostle says, I bow my knees unto the Father, in order that, right? I bow my knees unto the Father. It means I pray. I pray for you that in order, right? I pray in order that. So here, this is the result. In order that he would grant you to be strengthened. The granting of the Father that we may be strengthened is the result, right, of the Apostle's prayer. Then he would grant you to be strengthened into the inner man in order that Christ may make his home in your heart. So this is the result of the strengthening, right? The making of his home by Christ is the result of our being strengthened. Then, after this, that Christ may make his home in your heart, that you, here, the teachers hold different opinions. Some say these 2 deaths go in parallel. It means what? It means after you've been strengthened, number 1, Christ will make his home in you. And number 2, you will be able. You will be strong to apprehend and to know. But some say no. Some say, in this way, between these 2 deaths, there is no and conjunction. So the second death must be the result of the first death. In other words, the second death is the result of the second death, of the first death. And the third death is the result of the second death. And the fourth death is the result of the third death. You have 4 deaths here. And every death signifies a result. The first death is the result of the apostles' prayer. Right? Then we got strengthened. And then the second death is the result of our being strengthened. And the result is that Christ may make his home in our heart. Then the third death is the result of Christ making his home in our heart. And then the result is that we have been rooted and grounded in love. Right? That also we may be strong to apprehend and to know. Then you have the fourth death, the fourth result. That is, we will be filled unto the fullness of God. Well, I think it is quite complicated. It's quite complicated. At least 3 or 4 layers here. 3 or 4 steps going on, right? From the Apostles' Prayer, you go on to our being strengthened. From our being strengthened, you go on to Christ making his home in our heart, right? From this step, Christ making his home in our heart, you go on to the apprehending and the knowing. Then from here, the apprehending and the knowing, you go on to what? To the feeling. To be filled unto the fullness of God. Okay, it is in these steps that we apprehend the dimensions of Christ, and we know the knowledge passing love, the love that surpasses knowledge. So it is here in these 4 steps, 4 or 5 steps, right, that we apprehend the dimensions of Christ and the love of Christ. I would still spend some time to be with you to take these 4 or 5 steps. First of all, I'd like to check with you. On what step are you now? Yeah? On what steps? I think I better take easy. 1 step, then another step, then another step, then another step, then 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not too clear about 5. First tab, you may call this tab of prayer, right? The apostle prayed. This is the first tab on the floor level, right? On the floor ground. From here, it goes on. The Apostle Paul prayed that we may be strengthened. So here is strengthened, right? Strengthened. It's terrible. We may be strengthened. Strengthened into the inner man. What is the result of this being strengthened? Christ, right, making his home, huh? Okay. Christ making his home in our heart. Then from here, the third step, you go on to what step? That we may be strong, right? Strong to apprehend, right? Apprehend. I just apprehend and what? To know, right? To know. To apprehend the dimensions and to know the love. Then we get on the last step. What is this? And this is to be filled, right? To be filled. To be filled, not with. King James used the wrong preposition. It is the same Greek word as translated into, but here should be into. Into here means the result. To be filled into all the fullness of God. Now, we will have a message on this. The next message, it means tonight, we will be on, you look at your outline, 34, to be filled into all the fullness of God. So, we have to wait for that time. We will get on this last step. But now I can tell you, the fullness of God is just the expression of God. Like, in chapter 1, verse 23 says, the body, which is the church, is the fullness of Christ. The body is not the riches of Christ. We heard this yesterday already, right? The body is the fullness. And the fullness is after the riches all been digested and assimilated into our being. So the riches metabolically become the fullness. And the fullness is the expression. Could you all follow me? You see? Christians, I can tell you, nearly all Christians got the wrong concept, that they think fullness and riches are just synonyms. They say the riches are the fullness is the riches. But no, the riches are the items, and the fullness is the issue of the enjoyment of the riches. When we eat all the American riches, we become the American fullness. So we are the American expression, right? Suppose, let me illustrate in this way. We sit in this room, everybody with a pale face, P-L-E, so thin, even some with dark face, so thin, and everybody like this. This is a poor expression, right? This expresses that America is poor. It's poor, right? It's too poor. But today is different. Look at our faces, colorful, right? Look at our gesture, full of energy. The colorfulness, the energy, come from what? From the rich supermarket, full of the American riches. The riches of America were there. After we bought, we cooked, we ate, we digested, we assimilated all the things into our being, then all this become what? Become the fullness of the rich America. Have you got it? Here, it doesn't mean to be filled with the riches of God. But it means what? It means to be filled into the fullness of God. This means what? to be filled, resulting in the expression of God. So it is no joke. From this type of prayer goes on and goes on and goes on and goes on until we arrive at what? We arrive at the expression of God. I tell you, this is the church. The expression of God today is what? Is the church, which is the body, the fullness of Him that fills all in all. I tell you, the fullness of God is just the fullness of Christ. Am I right? Which is the body. And the body is constituted with what? Don't forget, with enjoyment of all the riches of Christ. So, in this chapter 3 of Ephesians, you have the constitution of the church. The church is revealed, is fully covered in chapter 1 and 2. But I say again, in chapters 1 and 2, you don't have the practical constitution of the church. The practical constitution of the church is in chapter 3. Right? Here you have a pattern. You have the leading one. How he received the revelation. And how he, what? He took the riches of Christ. And how he enjoyed all these riches. And how all these riches have been methodically and constitutionally, right, wrought into his being, making him a part of the body. And all the following apostles and prophets must be the same. So the church is constituted. Am I right? Then this constituted church is the fullness of Christ. It is also the fullness of God. Could you follow me? I hope that you try your best to follow me. Now, for this cause, he prayed. For this cause, he prayed. He prayed that we might be strengthened, number one, right? Strengthened with all our whole being into the inner man. Then the result of such a strengthening is that Christ will make his home in our heart. To occupy, to possess, to saturate, to permeate our whole being with himself. We will be filled with Christ. In other words, we will be filled with all the riches of Christ. Then we'll be strong. Strong to apprehend one thing, the dimensions of Christ, and to know one thing, the knowledge, passing love of Christ. Then what? I said, then we'll be filled to such an extent that we become the expression of God. That is the fullness of God. You must see this stairway with all the steps. Then you can see on one of the steps we need to know two things. We need to apprehend one thing, and we need to know another thing. To apprehend the dimensions. Here, the word apprehend doesn't only mean knowing. Actually, it means much more than this. Means what? Grasping. Holding on. Grasping. We all have to grasp the dimensions of Christ. Not just to know, but to grasp, to hold on the dimensions of Christ. And to know in full knowledge the love of Christ, which passes knowledge. Okay, Let us spend some time firstly on the dimensions of Christ. The dimensions of Christ are just these four things. The breadth, the length, the height, and the depth. You all have to realize these four things are just the dimensions of the universe. Am I right? You know, what is the universe? The universe is just these four things. The breadth, and the length, and the height, and the depth. This is the universe. Do you believe anyone? I even doubt the angel, no. I even doubt. So I ask you, do you believe beside God himself, who knows the measurement of the universe? Do you know how broad the universe is? I don't know. Right? And do you know how long is the universe? From what end to what end? For me to tell you the measure of this stand, that's easy. This is the breadth, and this is the what? Length, and this is the height, and that is depth. That's easy, because there are some ends, full of ends. From this end to this end is the length. From this end to this end, right, is the breadth. And from this end to that end is the height. And from that end, to this end, that is the depth. This is easy. In the universe, where are the ends? Where are the ends? There's no end. But you do have the breadth, and you do have the length, and you do have the height, and you do have the depth. And who can tell how broad is the breadth, and how long is the length, and how high is the height, and how deep is depth? Who can tell? Brother, do you believe the angels can tell you? I doubt. I doubt. Even this morning, I cannot tell you what is distance from the earth to the moon. I think this has been found out, right? How many miles? Could one of you this morning tell us? What? 240,000 miles. Because there are two ends. The end on the earth and the other end at the moon. So it is easy to find out. But in the whole universe, where are the ends? Immeasurable. So unsearchable. So untraceable. No end. And what are these dimensions? I tell you, these dimensions of the universe is just the dimensions of Christ. These are the dimensions of Christ, yet I like to tell you what is the universe. This morning, one more point that will blow up your mind. That is, the universe is Christ. In passive sense, I have the boldness to tell you, the earth is Christ. We all know this. Don't you agree with me? The good land is Christ. The earth is Christ. I don't give much thanks to the earth, but I give thanks day by day to Christ. I'm not living on this earth. I'm living on Christ. Who is my real earth? Christ. Who is the real sun? I see one. Christ. Who is the number one star? Christ. Now, who is the universe?
Christ.
Have you ever heard this? No. Ha, 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 ha. Have you ever heard that Christ is the universe? No. You may check with me, brother, where's your ground in the scripture? I tell you, my ground is Ephesians, what? Ephesians chapter 3, verse 18. To know, not just to know, but to grasp, to hold on the dimensions of Christ. And these dimensions are just the dimensions of the universe. Now you understand in chapter 1 that says what? The fullness of Him that fills all in all. Even in chapter 4, next week we will see. This Christ, in order to fill all, He descended to the lower part of the earth. And then from there, He ascended to the highest in the universe. You must realize the real universe is Christ. If you don't believe me, I tell you, when we will all get into the new heaven, new earth, and living in the new Jerusalem, we will say, Lord, now we know you are our universe.
Amen.
You are our universe. Now, the dimensions are what? Are immeasurable. So I cannot talk about it. I don't know. But from our experience, I know something. This is what I'm going to tell you. You know, our experiences of Christ are firstly not vertical, but horizontal. You didn't have any experience of Christ vertically, but horizontally. From the breadth to the length. You know, your experience of Christ is not firstly rising up, but firstly spreading. You check with your experience. Our experience of Christ is firstly not rising up, but spreading. Yet, our experience of Christ must be cube. C-U-B, must be cube. It should not be flat. Firstly, it must be horizontal. Then it goes up to be vertical, to form a cube. Again, this may blow up your mind this morning. But anyhow, I can challenge on you that you have to go back to check with your experiences. I'm pretty sure when you would check with your spiritual experience, you will find out. Firstly, your experience of Christ not rose up, but spread. Spread by width to length. Try the best to follow me. You know, just by width without length, that will be a lion. You see, just a lion. But by width and length, it becomes no more a line, but a square. Our experience of Christ should not be a line. Our experience of Christ should be a square. You see, it is not just stretching to be a line, but it should be spreading to be a square, covering a space. I tell you, this is not a small thing. Don't consider this as a light thing. We all must have the square experience of Christ. We shouldn't have the line experience. The line experience means what? You just go on stretching forward all the time. Eventually, I don't know to where you will go, but you will be on the extreme. All the extremists are liners. Just on one line. The experience of Christ, firstly, should be like this. Right? Then, like this. 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 Also like this. Also like this. Also like this. Also like this. Then you have a square. You could never go to the extreme. Some of the brothers, they are just like this. Just like a snake. To the North Pole. I am altogether not joking. Even in the past short time, if you would have a look, you could see some are too far. Don't go too far. Come back. Don't stretch the line. Come back to make a carpet. To make a carpet. Carpet. To make a square. Don't have the line experience. Don't have a narrow, a long experience. You may say, Brother Lee, what do you mean? All these funny talks. All these funny talks you like to give us. We never heard this kind of thing in Christianity. Carpet experience, square experience, line experience. We never heard of these things. What is this? What is this? I tell you, I'm not talking something I didn't see or I don't know. What I'm going to tell you, maybe I saw something there. I saw a great Plymouth Brethren teacher. And I was under him for years. A great teacher. I doubt he prayed much. I really doubt he prayed much. But whenever I saw him, he had a very worn out Bible. The Bible is worn out. Full of notes. Full of notes. It seems to me He knew nothing by that time. He knew nothing. Just reading, take your notes, reading, and take your notes. I tell you, by that time, I appreciated. Later on, I realized that was not a carpet experience. That was not a square experience. That was a line experience, stretching. Saying, you know what happened? Let me tell you. He was so knowledgeable of the Bible. So knowledgeable. Nearly, he could be considered as a living concordance. If you don't know what verse, what word in what verse, you just come to him, he will right away tell you. But it will surprise you. What? Probably you never heard, but I saw. What? After you go to see him, and he would ask you to sit down with him, he'll begin to talk to you about the Bible for 30 minutes. Then he said, sorry, I must smoke a little bit. And he smoked the pipe. Do you understand me? Then in front of you, he began smoke. After smoking, he didn't have any heart to listen to you. He just talked to you about the Bible. What is this? This is the lion experience. Just stretching, no spreading. I saw this, and I also saw a sister among us. This is absolutely another category. And this sister, she wouldn't come to the Bible. She wouldn't. It's hard. And her excuse was that to read the Bible is empty. She said, we have to pray. And she began to pray. And once, she knelt down, she would never rise up. You believe me? She was so earnest in prayer. Then one day, she got burdened to pray and fast for 8 days. Up to the 7th day, the brothers and the sisters that was in my hometown, in that church, couldn't tolerate to see the situation, and they came to me and brought me there to see her. And she was lying in the bed by that time because over 7 days she didn't eat anything. You see? She didn't eat anything. She was fasting and praying there. Then I went in. I said, sister, you have to take care of your health. She closed up her eyes. She wouldn't listen to my word. That was to her an offending word. She would still insist to pray. You know what happened? The next day she died. What experience is this? This is the lion experience. In the past few years, among us, there were some lion experiences leading to the extreme, eventually leading astray. You see, every lion experience leads astray, leads people astray. We must be balanced. Yes, we need to study the Word. At the same time, we need to pray. Yes, we need to pray, the more the better. Yes, still, we need to be balanced by studying the Word. Then, another extreme, I can give you a lot of lion experiences. I think just within maybe a year or half a year, many of you heard, we don't need to go to the meeting. We just stay home. We just stay home. I like to stay home with the Lord. I like to stay home to have a a good time with the Lord. Well, to stay home, to have a good time with the Lord, nothing wrong. But don't stretch it. Don't make it a line. And this line will bring you either to the South Pole or the North Pole. You see? Come to the meeting to get a balance. To get a balance. But sorry to say, not too many, good. Not bad. Because not too many, few. They just have to come to the meeting. They don't like to stay home. You see, even to come to the meeting, maybe a stretching line. Not too many, but I believe at least among all the churches, maybe 2 or 3. Meeting line stretchers. They just like to come to the meeting. In their Christian life, nothing. No prayer, no study of the Bible, no home time to enjoy the Lord. Just meeting, come to the meeting, meeting. Whether there's a meeting in the hall or not, they still like to come to the hall. I think you know what I'm talking about. Right? We are so easy to have the line experiences. We don't like to have the carpet experiences. We don't like to have the experiences just like this. Yeah? Like this, like this, like this, like this. That means what? That means we need to be balanced. To be balanced in many ways. To have the breadth, also to have the length. Always back and forth. To be balanced. Hallelujah. I tell you, to be balanced is what? Is to be enriched. To be balanced is to be enriched. We need a square experience. Listen to this. If you don't firstly have the square experience of Christ by width, by breadth and length, you could never rise up. You must be horizontal with a foundation, with a base. Then from here, you rise up. So really, first breadth, then length, right? Then what? Height, then depth. Don't go down first. Some people say we Christians have to root first. Then we go up. But the Bible is different. You see, first you have to ascend, then you descend. Don't go down first. You must go up first. To have the height, then you have the depth. I tell you, spiritual experiences, the depth comes from the head. It is not that the head comes from the depth. You may think there, and you may try to argue with me. I tell you, I like to argue. Why? Because they argue. The more you argue with me, the more you find that I'm right. If you don't argue with me, you think you are right. When you argue with me, you will find you are wrong. Because you are natural. The natural concept is to have the depth, then to have the height. Well, we cannot go on too fast. Brothers, let me tell you this. When we experience Christ, back and forth, not by yourself, you know. By whom? By all the members. This is why we need the church life. This is why we need the meeting. Because meeting after meeting, we got balanced, right? meeting after meeting, listening to all the messages, listening to all the experiences, all the testimonies, all the shares. We got balanced. We got balanced. Let me check with you. We all know textile, right? Textile, right? The textile comes not by lines, right? Not by lines, but by pieces. Pieces. You look at any textile, any piece of textile, there is a lot of what? A lot of what? Back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. East and west, back and forth. West and east, back and forth. Then north, south, back and forth, back and forth. Then you have a square. Right? The spiritual experiences of Christ must be like this. Just by yourself, you cannot make it. You need the body. You need so many members in a meeting. You see? As long as you have a meeting, maybe it's a 5 to 10, 20, 25, as long as you have a number meeting with you and you are among them, I tell you, day by day, week after week, you become what? A piece of textile. You are no more just a thin line of thread. Many saints today are lines of thread. The strongest one might be just a string, S-T-R-I-N-G, a string, still just a line. But what is needed today is not a thread, nor a string, but a piece of textile with a lot of balances, back and forth. Am I right? Okay, listen to this. When you experience Christ in such a square way, you will find out the breadth of Christ is immeasurable. And the length of Christ is immeasurable. And you will find out, my, surely you have a broad Christ. You see, and you have a long Christ. The spreading of Christ is immeasurable. It's immeasurable. It is here that you find out the dimensions of the universe are just Christ's. Christ's dimensions. I just talked this much, then let's go up. Let's go up. Not just to have a square, but to have a cube. You all know nothing is so solid as a cube, right? A cube is the most solid thing. Do you realize that both in the tabernacle or in the temple, the holiest of holy is a cube? It is a cube. In the tabernacle, the holiest holy, the Holy of Holies is 10 feet or 10 cubits wide and 10 cubits long and 10 cubits high. It gives you a cube of 10 cubits in 3 dimensions. Am I right? Then the Holy of Holies in the temple, if I remember right, it was 30 cubits. A cube in 3 dimensions of 30 cubits. And you all have to know the New Jerusalem will be an eternal cube. 12,000 stadia in 3 dimensions. I have to tell you, the whole church must be a cube. And your experience of Christ must be a cube. Not just horizontal, but also vertical. Not only horizontal in one line, but in many lines. back and forth. Not vertical in my line, but in many lines, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, back and forth, up and down, back and forth. Then you have the cube of the experience of Christ. Then you are solid. Firstly, you must be square. Eventually, you must be a cube. This is all what I can say this morning. You take this word and go back to get you into your experiences, you will find this is needed. I tell you, when we become a cube, we can never fall. And we can never be broken. A cube. I'm so happy that I do believe the whole universe is a cube. That's Christ. Christ is the universal cube. Then the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle was a cube. The Holy of Holies in the temple was a cube. And I tell you, the whole New Jerusalem in the new heaven, new earth will be a cube. And how about the church? The church is not a line. It's not a string, not a tribe, but a cube. How about us? Our experiences of Christ must be cube. A lot ups and downs. A lot of backs and forths. Then we have the cube. Now, plus this, or in addition to this, please read the second part of verse 17. That you see, here the Apostle Paul added something. That you may be strong. But in between, in midst of this, he added something. Having been rooted and grounded in love. You just tell me what it is. You tell me what it is. I tell you, this is to take care of the matter of life and the matter of building. You see, to be rooted, this is a matter of life in growth, right? Rooted for the growth in life. And grounded. Grounded for what? Grounded for the building. Why the Apostle Paul was saying that you may be strong to apprehend and to know, while he was speaking this, he wedged in. He can sound. He wedged in. And the sound was that rooted and grounded in love. Rooted for growth and grounded for building. I tell you, his indication was to show us whatever we here experience of Christ is for life and building. This is for life and building. When we have Christ making his home in our heart, that we may be strong to apprehend his dimensions, and that we may be strong to know his knowledge passing love. At this moment, life must be here, and building must be here. Whatever we experience here is for life and building. And this is all together in love. In love. And this is not our love. This is divine love, realized by us and practiced also by us. It's the divine love we received, and now we practice the divine love to love the Lord and to love one another. In such a love, we are growing in life. And in such a love, we are building, right, in life. So here, life and building are both indicated, that we may experience Christ. Just for this growth and building, there is the body. The salt is too deep here, and the salt is too profound, yet the indications are so clear. I just can say this much. Then you may say, Brother Lee, to be rooted doesn't mean to go down. To be grounded doesn't mean to be down. I tell you, this natural concept, you check with your experiences. Whenever you grew up, then you are rooted. This will brew up your mind again. But anyhow, you check with your experience. It is not that you rooted, then you grow up. Logically speaking, it is this way. But experientially, it is not this way. It is when you grow up, you root. When you grow up, you are rooted. The more you grow up, the deeper you are rooted. We have 2100 saints this morning. I just challenge all of you. Could any one of you to tell us that you rooted first, then you grow up? Was there such a time? You check with your experience. I do believe none of us has ever had any sensation that we are rooted. I never sensed that I was rooted. All the time, my sensation that I was growing up. Then eventually, I realized, as I was growing up, I was rooted down. How about I just wait for a minute before you argue? We are growing. While we are growing, we are being rooted. We are building. While we are being built, I tell you, we are grounded. This is the right way. So up and down, not down and up. And now, just this much. Then we go on to the second thing, to know the love that passes knowledge. Here we say, knowledge passing love. Yet, we can know it. This one, I tell you, this one short word is contradicting. It says to know, and it says knowledge passing. Contradicting. It is knowledge passing, yet it is still knowledgeable. Explain to me. Could you explain it? Is the love of Christ knowledgeable or knowledge passing? Both. In what way? In this way. According to our mentality, knowledge passing. Knowledge passing. Our mental cannot make it to know the love of Christ. It is all knowledge passing to our mentality. It passes the knowledge of our mentality. But in our spirit, by experience, we know. We know. We know the love of Christ is just as himself, immeasurable. Immeasurable. Don't think the love of Christ is a part of Christ. It's something belonging to Christ. The love of Christ is just Christ himself. And this is why this little portion of the word bothered so many translators. They all considered love of Christ is just Christ himself. So it's quite okay to say the dimensions of Christ are just the dimensions of his love, because his love is just himself. Right? The love of Christ is just himself. Christ is immeasurable, so his love is knowledge passing. Yet, in our spirit, we can know. Right? We can know. In our spirit, it's knowledgeable. We can know. Not by just knowledge, but by experience. Well, I don't know how you feel, but I think this morning in this second session, I touched, you see, I have touched two things that I cannot say anything about it. What are these two things? The dimension of Christ, how can I say it? And the immeasurable love of Christ, how can I say it? What I have tasted may be just a drop, a little drop, maybe a raindrop compared with the ocean. See, Christ, his dimension, and his love are just like the ocean. And what I have experienced, just like the raindrops, I just have experienced some few drops. But yet, we need to see this. Right? Okay. Now, we turn the meeting to Jay around the piano.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media or visit our website for more from Living Stream Ministry.